All right. So the article that I am bringing to the table is called "The People Who Brought You Travis Kelce." Ran the New York Times. It's by Zach Schoenbrum. It's a profile of the twin brothers that Kelce has known since he was at the University of Cincinnati, named Andre and Aaron Eanes, I imagine, Eanes, and basically how they've been working with him over the last, well, since then, but especially the last few years, to make him really famous. Um, Kelce is arguably at this point the most famous NFL player. Is that
I
crazy to
think
say?
that's right. I think that's objectively metrically correct.
They take pains to note that they did not plan his relationship with Taylor Swift, which, to quote a popular TikTok meme, really put him on the map. But the article's interesting. It gets into sort of how Kelce's aspirations and their own have contrived to kind of mainstream him beyond football. And I think this is interesting too, because, football players, we think of them as being really famous because of what we do for a living, but most of them are not recognizable on the street. They're in helmets, right? But Kelce is a person whose face I think America really knows now. They know him from obviously his success on the field. They know him from the relationship with Swift. They know him from the fact that he's in every commercial known to man, that he hosted SNL. And I think it's actually pretty unique. There aren't really many examples like this in recent NFL history. I think it runs, and they address this in the story, the risk of overexposure.
Yep.
I'd be curious to see how what his Q rating is right now relative to other points in his career. But undeniably, it's worked, Pablo. And, they are in this article taking credit for it.
Yeah, no, it's staggering. And there's a lot here that I want to actually talk to Dan about, too, because part of the reference point here are a couple of people that I think Dan has gotten to know unusually well, relative to us, at least, because at one point in a trip to LA in this story in 2022, the two brothers, his managers, and Travis Kelce drive by this massive billboard of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And Kelce goes, apparently, "Man, I don't think I'll ever be as famous as The Rock." And the twins apparently look at each other and they say in 2022, again, "Yes, you can." And so there is a bit of I would have called that delusion if you had asked me in 2022 about that possibility for the reasons Mina was alluding to. But I also think that part of the delusion of being the manager of an athlete now, somebody who knew him before he was big, before anybody else saw him as a stock to own, it reminds me of like how it is that Maverick Carter and Rich Paul got with LeBron James, Dan. Like these guys who are friends and not experts, who believe in the subject and the protagonist that is going to become the center, the gravitational center of their lives. Those guys were first to market with him. And it's really hard to tell. My cynicism is it's hard to tell how much they are the causal reason why he is this way, because they're not saying that they orchestrated Taylor Swift. It's the opposite. And so are they along for the ride? What are we giving them credit for in terms of being people who are now at the center of the biggest name in the NFL?
The article was interesting for a lot of reasons to me. 4 agents is a lot by any player's standard. Adding creative artist agency on top of your agents, that is aggressive. You don't really need to be giving up these percentages of your money unless you're being management aggressive of, I'm going to be ambitious with my career, post-football, at the end of football. Travis Kelce went to Stugatz a long time ago trying to figure out the podcast game before.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
That this is real. I've heard about this. This is real.
Yes, this is real, but I would take you back because you mentioned Dwayne Johnson. I went to college with Dwayne Johnson. Dwayne Johnson was not a great football player, or not compared to the people who were ahead of him at defensive tackle. But he had learned from wrestling that around sports, you can have charisma and work ethic and turn it into something. And Travis Kelce, with the help of these people, has figured out a way to get into the space in football where they've got a hugely popular sport, but the only guys who get the marketing are the old white quarterbacks. So what can we do about that? well, we can be aggressive about taking a tight end and making sure that we manage around his charisma because he wants to be famous outside of football. He tried a dating show and they hated it in the Kansas City organization. He was doing reality television, and so they just did it better and smarter. They took a guy who's got great talent, a champion and charisma, and they found the ingredients. You can say that this was orchestrated. It was by design. It was strategic. It was smart. They got Travis Kelce what agents are paid to get them, the things they want.
I think you're absolutely right. Although you talked about his charisma. I think there's kind of two things here that are unique. One is he's one of the greatest to ever play the position. I wonder, would any of this be happening if not for the fact that they're working from the baseline that his football credentials are unquestioned, right, at this point? And that'll be interesting, by the way, next year if he continues down this path as his play, and it will decline. And you're seeing a little bit of that now. But if it does really start to decline, okay, at what point, does one thing affect the other or not? Right now,
but Mina,
forgive
me though, but like Antonio Gates was that. There are any number. Tony Gonzalez, hell, Shannon Sharp was that, a tight end who is undeniably, unquestionably game-changing, great. And none of them get to be this. Like nobody's ever parlayed charisma and tight end play into this.
Well, I think this is also, and this is what I was going to say, also a function of the times. Like we are living at a moment where influencers are just as famous as actors amongst certain age groups and whatnot. Travis Kelce, you could say, is kind of an influencer, right? Like
absolutely.
He's not in movies. He hosted SNL, and he's on commercials, but he does a podcast. It's really, really popular.
It's one of the most
TikTok.
Just to clarify, like among the many things that Travis Kelce's empire consists of is his podcast with his brother Jason, who's a Hall of Famer himself. And it's one of the most popular podcasts in general. And so again, the idea that Stugatz was like, Travis Kelce wants me to help figure out like the most popular podcast that would turn out in America is hilarious, but also a symptom of what I think we're circling, which is a fame that is very much of its time. Like, I don't know if dating Taylor Swift in the pre-internet era would have all of this residual benefit.
I am served by TikTok constantly videos about their relationship. I realize that's a Jason Whitlockian addition because it means I am also looking at those videos. I get that. They serve it to me. I eat it. They keep serving me more.
Question mark.
You're going to get targeted ads for tight ends. That's what you're going to get.
But by the way, we are living also in a post-Gronk world. Like, I think it's funny to imagine Rob Gronkowski in this. Rob Gronkowski, I'm curious where you put him in this taxonomy of celebrity, of tight end, white guy, NFL, helmet on celebrity, because he seemed to have been the peak of it, and now he's been trumped very obviously.
Yeah, I think that's where, Dan, it kind of gets interesting because everything you're saying about, he's just sort of like this neutral, pleasant, affable white guy who's really, really good at the position. They would seem to both fall into those categories. I think, though, there are a couple meaningful differences. One is the time that we're in. Two, like, I don't think Gronk is as charismatic as Travis Kelce, and I think like a Gronk podcast would not hit the same.
Come on,
frankly,
guys, come on.
I've watched many interviews with Gronk. I've seen him on television. Travis Kelce is better than him at those things. I think we don't have to diminish Gronk too much to point out the obvious. It is obvious, as Dan said. Kelce came on NFL Live at the draft 2 years ago. He was fantastic. He was. And this probably also, by the way, cuts it into a little bit of what we're talking about. He was really nice to everyone.
Yeah, people like him. No, I mean,
he's really likable.
So in terms of connecting him to The Rock and what makes him, so again, that's sort of the goal here, right? Like, can he be as big as The Rock? That was a prophecy. I mean, he is charismatic. Could he act? I can believe it. At the very least, I don't know, Dan, if you saw in Dwayne Johnson, this guy is a future blockbuster movie star.
No,
but in Travis Kelce, I'm impressed.
You could not have seen that from college. But descending from professional wrestling and seeing the value of being able to Conor McGregor your way to infamy and fame and just talking your way into the game. You guys are right that I underestimate if I dismiss him as a fool, I underestimate the power of Gronk's likability. Not everyone can pull that off. There is
What?
There is value to that. The marketing and myth making machine can work with that.
There was a moment this year that I think is worth highlighting with Travis Kelce as we talk about why is he famous? What is it about him? What is it about this moment? How much of it is planned? What not? Is there anything intrinsic to him, or does he have any qualities that make him uniquely suited for this? It was when Aaron Rodgers took a shot at him on McAfee. And what did he call him? Mr.
Pfizer.
Mr. Pfizer, right, yeah.
Mr. Pfizer, we kind of shut him down a little bit. He didn't have, his crazy impact game.
I thought Kelce's response to that was about as well as I've ever seen an athlete handle any drama or whatnot.
Once I got the vaccine, I got it because of, keeping myself safe, keeping my family safe, the people in this building. So yeah, I stand by it 1,000% and fully comfortable with him calling me Mr. Pfizer.
I remember watching that video. It was in a presser thinking, oh, wow, this guy's got it.
But it's not as good as Gronk, though. Gronk's got it figured out. Just do it this way.
They got that sexy body.
That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do.
Rob Gronkowski, former fan of the Clevelander Hotel.